Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Sports Talk with Austin, your daily dose of sports and entertainment. Today's video, me and Jackson Johnson break down the third and final part of this three-part special edition NY6 / BowlMania recap. Give you our thoughts, our reactions, and our breakdown on some of the biggest games that occurred during BowlMania and NY6 season.
But we look at the Alamo Bowl. Oh my God, that was a great game. That was a great one. What was your
For
thought
which
process on this game? I mean, we see Arizona. I mean, there were unanswered points everywhere. Oklahoma scores basically 24 unanswered points. Then Arizona ends the game with 25 unanswered points. And, would you say this was like a dilemma for the Big 12? Because it's like Oklahoma's going to leave the Big 12, but Arizona's going to join the Big 12. So you think the Big 12 was pulling for Arizona or Oklahoma?
to be honest with you, Jackson, I don't know if they were pulling for one in particular, but I will say, Jackson, I don't want to rain on the parade. I seem like I'm doing that a lot here lately. But Jackson, when you commit 6 turnovers, you're more than likely going to lose a football game. And I want to give all the credit to Arizona. They played fantastic. No Fita and company played great. But Oklahoma did turn the ball over 6 different times. That kind of did aid Arizona big time. And you have to look at it is if Oklahoma didn't turn the ball over 6 times, would they have still lost by this much? You see the score, Jackson, with 6 turnovers. Without them 6, do they win this game? Possibly. We may never know.
I think they could. They could have had they not made a bunch of turnovers. And I know people are down on Oklahoma again, but Brent Venables can get the job done in Norman. I mean, he may not be Bob Stoops, he may not be Lincoln Riley, but he can get the job done in Lincoln in Oklahoma. In Norman. Sorry about that. Why did I say Lincoln? I messed up the names, didn't I?
Mm-hmm. Well, Jackson, and this next bowl, I think, was a lot of people's favorite. The famous
Yeah.
Pop Tart Bowl. NC State, Kansas State. 28-19, Kansas State gets the victory, and they get the celebration, and they get to eat the edible Pop Tart at the end. Jackson, I heard a lot of people said this is the most fun they had watching a bowl game. What about you, good buddy? Was this the most fun you've had watching a non-New Year's Six playoff game?
Oh my God, it was awesome. I mean, I know the Pop Tart mascot had quite a bit of fun with the referee. So it's like, oh man, he's like, yeah. I don't know if I'd feel good if I was that ref, but that's just me now.
But congratulations to Kansas State, and what a way for them to end their season too. Especially Chad Beebe, their offensive lineman. He was, one of those guys that had been the heart and soul of this team. We always talk about the pretty offensive stats and players, but Chad Beebe, he was a heck of a player for Kansas State. I enjoyed watching, especially when he pancaked a couple people in that Texas game. You know, but congratulations to Kansas State, and we will see now without Will Howard. Is Avery Johnson the guy that's going to lead Kansas State back to promised land? Can they win the Big 12 with him? We'll find out in 2024. Jackson, you have
Well,
any other thoughts on this thing?
well, because we look at how Chris Kleiman has an incredible ability to adjust. He proved that in the 2022 season where they were without Adrian Martinez. They replaced him with Will Howard. They won the Big 12. Then we see in this game, Will Howard's like, I'm going to go transfer portal and I'm leaving Manhattan, taking my talents elsewhere. So what does Kansas State do? They get Avery Johnson and they win this ball game. It was a great game, and I'm looking forward to see what K-State does. And I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Kleiman is a big coaching candidate for potential Big Ten openings and potential SEC openings during the 2024 or after the 2024 season.
And it's definitely something to look forward to going forward for sure. Now, Jackson, this next bowl we're gonna review, I should say, good buddy. Boy, oh boy, do we owe this team a big time apology. Boston
No, I'm not.
College.
I don't owe
Oh, go
Boston
ahead.
College an apology. I don't owe Boston College an apology for squat. I don't.
But Jackson, we have to give them an apology, good buddy. I know you don't want to, but we kind of have to because we talked all that smack about them, how they wouldn't be competitive. We gave Northwestern one earlier. Let's give Boston College and Jeff Halfley one as well because they beat SMU, who you thought should have been in the Fiesta Bowl against Oregon. Let's be honest. I'm sorry, Boston College.
Yeah, but you go down against Pittsburgh, man. I mean, you went down against Pittsburgh. You let clinching bowl eligibility go to your head after you beat Syracuse. I mean, it's just You can't be playing like that, Boston College. I mean, I know you got a winning season, but you can't be looking pitiful after you play Syracuse, and you can't be having one-score games against UConn and Virginia. I mean,
Jackson, I will say this though. They beat SMU, who won the American Athletic Conference. They beat them 23-14, and they were an 11-point underdog. I mean, I know everyone wants to give them flack, and we've had our fair share, but I think it's time we give them just a little bit of credit for this great win. Now, it does hurt that SMU didn't have some of their players, but that's what bowl season is now, unfortunately. You can't blame opt-outs because it's just the world we live in. Back in the day, there were no opt-outs. So if you beat the team, you beat them fully healthy in it with everybody. Nowadays, if you beat them, it kind of gets tainted. Go ahead, though, Jack.
And I will say that Boston College SMU will be a conference game next year, and we don't know when that's going to be played, but we know it will be played sometime in the 2024 season. It will be at SMU. And if Boston College beats SMU, and if they beat SMU again in the 2024 season, I will apologize to Boston College.
Well, Boston College, you got an apology out of me. Jackson's not giving his up so easy. You have to earn his respect a little more. But I will say, Jackson, would you agree?
You can't play like crap against Holy Cross. You can't cost yourself an upset against Florida State with penalties. You can't be having a 3-point win against Virginia and expect me to be proud of you. I mean, you looked pitiful. I mean, you're not that good, unfortunately. So I mean, you're not Matt Ryan, Boston College. And I'm not going to pretend that you are.
Here's the thing, though, Jackson. I'm going to come to their defense, and this may be not a very smart move. But here's the thing, though. SMU, everyone was shouting from the rooftop. They got screwed. They got screwed. They should be the one in the Fiesta, not Liberty. And look what happened, Jackson. They beat the team everyone was screaming. That should have been an NY6 team. Boston. That's why I'm saying, Jackson, you might owe them just a tad bit of an apology. Like, give them some credit. I understand. They look terrible in their wins and losses. But everyone was shouting, SMU got screwed. How dare the committee not only screw Florida State, but they screw SMU too. And then Boston College is like,
I will say this is the best win for the 2023 Boston College season. But if Boston College wants me to respect, They have to do a lot better in 2024. They got to earn my respect.
And see, this is what makes bowl season so great, people. Because me and Jackson could go on for hours and hours about this one bowl game over Boston College SMU. But we need we can't we got other bowl games we need to talk about as well. And the next one coming up, the Pinstripe Bad Boy Mowers Bowl in the baseball stadium. I believe in Yankee
Yankee
Stadium, if I'm
Stadium.
correct. Then the Fenway Bowl was in Fenway Park. It's in the name. Sorry about that. Stadium's confused. But Rutgers beats Miami 31-24. I would say I'm not shocked, but Rutgers, they kind of went under the radar, Jackson, for this past season, wouldn't you say? Because a lot of people didn't think that they would do very good in their conference. Well, what's your takeaway on this game?
Miami lost another game that they shouldn't have. They should have won this game, but they didn't. They do this sort of crap all year. They won a game that they shouldn't have, which was against Texas A&M. They lost a game they shouldn't have, which was against Georgia Tech. They won against Clemson when they shouldn't have. And they almost lost to Virginia. They came up short against Louisville. 5 yards short. Oh, man. And they go down in the Pinstripe Bowl of 2023. But a great job by Greg Schiano and Rutgers.
Yes. Great job by Rutgers, Jackson. Very happy and proud for them. Great win. And, let's hope they can keep this going forward, especially with the new Big Ten. But as for Miami, once again, underperforming in the big time moment again. Miami, we should just expect that. And yes, we got to talk about this game real quick. We'll give our quick thoughts on it. Notre Dame trounced Oregon State 40-8 in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Congratulations, Notre Dame, but Jackson, you want to give your quick thoughts on this first?
Oh, man. This game was a nightmare for Oregon State. It was a nightmare for them. Angelini had a pretty good game. 232 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 15 and 19 completed passes. My God, that young man was awesome against Oregon State. But it was just, Lord have mercy. This was a bad week for Oregon State.
Just a real quick thought before we get into our next bowl game. Just congratulations, Notre Dame. And unfortunately for Oregon State, Jackson, I have a fear that they're going to have a lot more games like that without Jonathan Smith. But the next game that we're going to talk about, boy, oh boy, Jackson, do we owe this team some of our apologies as well. Missouri defeating Ohio State in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. And Jackson, this is after we had told Missouri they were going to do no better than go 3-9. Boy, did they shut us up, didn't they, Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
Eli. Go ahead, Jackson. I'm sure Missouri fans waiting to give us this helping of crow that we need to take.
Eli Drinkwitz did a magnificent job this season. And I will say, you want to go at anybody, you go at me. Don't be going at this man. I talked him into making the prediction. It's like that. This was me. So you want to come at anybody, you come at me.
Jackson, I appreciate that, but I made the pick. I got to live with the results. And congratulations, Missouri. I'm happy you proved me wrong. And I'm happy you got such a big win over Ohio State in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. I'm sure Michigan fans were happy you beat them. But my question is, Jackson, can Missouri sustain this? Can they keep winning at this high level, or was this maybe a Cinderella season, in your opinion?
I think it was a Cinderella season for Missouri, especially on week 3 against Kansas State in the rain with a 61-yard game-winning field goal. I mean, that was a fantastic finish in Columbia, Missouri. I mean, I know everybody talked about West Virginia, Pittsburgh, Alabama being awful against South Florida, but how nobody was talking about Kansas State, Missouri was beyond me. Good grief.
Yeah, and for Ohio State, Jackson, they brought in transfer Will Howard, so maybe that'll help their quarterback play. And Quinshawn Junkins, which he transferred over. So Ohio State's reloading, and they should get better. Now on to the TaxSlayer Gator
Oh,
Bowl,
yeah.
the best game of bowl season, in my opinion, as Clemson defeats Kentucky 38-35. And Jackson, what did I tell you about Kentucky when we did our preview video? What did I tell you about them that you didn't quite believe me on until you witnessed them do this?
Oh, man. They're gonna bring their A game in the bowl, because I was thinking like, "Oh, they're gonna be awful like they were against Iowa last year."
And Jackson, I tried to warn you, and I tried to warn everybody. I was like, I get everyone thinks Kentucky, they play so bad in the regular season, but Mark Stoops, when it comes to bowl season, I don't care who he's playing. He always seems to find a way to either win the game or he loses the game like this. Jackson, and I know me and you had a conversation off screen about this, how whoever Kentucky's playing next year, you're going to be sure that you're not going to risk a lot of points on them, especially when
Oh,
you do those points, because if Clemson would have lost, oh boy, you might have been upset.
oh, man. I would be looking awful.
Well, Jackson, I think Kentucky proved us all wrong, though. I will say, though, Jackson, is this concerning for Clemson, though, that they didn't beat Kentucky by more than they should have? Is this showing that the times maybe getting to Dabo Sweeney, that him out recruiting everybody, maybe those days are kind of over? Because Clemson in the past, they would have just dominated Kentucky and it would have been over. What's your take?
Well, and I think what's really been hurting Clemson is that Dabo's not too crazy about the transfer portal. And I feel like the game is somewhat passing them by right now. But we're going to wait and see in 2024 to see if it's true or not. I mean, you don't need to win the ACC, but it definitely doesn't hurt. All you got to do is have a pretty good record. You're in the 12-team playoff. Although a certain network owned by the mouse might have something to say about that.
Yeah, Jackson, we've talked a bit about that, and I'm sure we'll get to that game here in just a shortly bit. But
Oh, yeah.
Jackson, this was another surprising game. Memphis beating Iowa State 36-26. This was surprising. I thought Iowa State would play better than they did, but they didn't. Jackson, what is your take on this game?
Well, I mean, they say that Memphis has been wanting to join the Big 12 for God knows how long, and they showed everybody that, hey, we belong in the Big 12 too by beating up on Iowa State. And they're like, oh, unhand their damn backslide, unhand their damn backslide, unhand their damn backslide. Hey, we're getting in a rut, and we're going to beat you up, Iowa State.
I will say, though, Jackson, congratulations to Memphis. I didn't pick them, but is Matt Campbell, could he be on the hot seat for 2024?
No.
You don't think so? Okay.
No.
Well, Jackson, some Iowa State fans.
Put that take in the trash. Put that in the dumpster and burn it, man. Burn that
Jackson,
tape. Disco Inferno.
well, Jackson, some Iowa State fans are getting a little restless with Matt Campbell, and they're
I don't
starting to get a
care.
little.
I don't care. I don't care how restless they are. They need to think about what it was like before Matt Campbell. Hell, they need to be remembering what it was like before Paul Rhodes. That's what Iowa
Well,
State fans are. The whiny few that don't remember. They need to go back and watch old YouTube videos of Iowa State being the pitiful, pathetic team that they were in years past before Matt Campbell even showed up.
well, Jackson, and you got to remember too, we are in an era. If you're not winning, people get impatient really quick. And I think
who's
that's where
going
a
to go
lot
to Ames, Iowa? I mean, who's going to pat their badge and go, I want to go to Ames, Iowa. Yee! Nobody. That was a gift from God. The fact that Matt Campbell even showed up to Iowa State. So, I mean, they need to just be so for those few people that are whining and crying, carrying on, need to just be grateful.
And yeah, I totally agree with you on that, Jackson. But speaking of a team that needs to show up when it's bowl season, what happened to Auburn?
I should have listened to you. Oh man, you warned me.
Like Jackson, I'm not trying to sound like a show off, but
I know.
For whatever reason, I just get these gut feelings about teams. And I not only told you, Jackson, but our good buddy Jeffrey, he picked Auburn as well. And, Auburn, they just have consistency issues. Like, I remember telling you, Jackson, when we did our preview video about this game, I said, well, here's the problem with Auburn. Are they going to have an Alabama hangover? Because they didn't beat Bama, and they're going to be like, oh, we didn't beat Bama. Our season's done now. And it's like, we have nothing else to play for. We don't need to play for the bowl. And you, Jackson, I give you credit. You thought Hugh Freeze would have changed the culture around, and he would have been like, no, that's loser talk. We're going to play this bowl, and we're going to show that we're legit. And what happened? They did what I thought they'd do. We didn't beat Bama. We're so sad. It's over. And Jackson, this was even without Tulia. He opted out of this game. Like, Jackson, just give your take, because I'm sure you're frustrated at this as well, especially watching Auburn, and you hadn't put so much faith in them. You had to be disappointed just a little bit.
Oh yeah, I'm just flabbergasted. But on the bright side, we saw Billy Edwards have a great game against that Auburn defense. But I'm looking at what happened to Auburn afterwards. Philip Montgomery got fired. Ron Roberts left Auburn. And I know that Auburn's got some new DCs. And as of today, Cadillac Williams left the program. So Hugh Freeze is making some changes real quick. And I'm curious to see what that bolds for 2024. And I wonder how Nick Saban retiring helps them. Can they finally get that upset win in Tuscaloosa is the question.
Yeah, and just a real quick note, congratulations to Maryland and Mike Slockley, who's undefeated in his young bowl career. He may not win the big games in the Big Ten, but he'll make sure to win you his bowl game. What a great win for them.
Third straight.
Mm-hmm. But Jackson, we go from happy times to, unfortunately, we got to talk about this game for a second. Georgia defeating 3-3, the largest victory in history. And it was in the Orange Bowl. Florida State, we won't spend too much time on this. We're not trying to be party poopers, but Florida State basically was like, we don't care because ESPN kind of screwed us over in a way because they wanted Alabama and Texas in over us. So everybody opted out, and it was like Georgia's like, okay, we'll just beat you down then. Congratulations, Georgia, on a fantastic win, but I hate that it had to come this way, Jackson. You have any quick
Well,
thoughts on this game, Jackson, to
well,
put Florida State out?
this is the largest margin of victory in the history of bowl games. And once you know it, Georgia broke their own record where they won by 58 points last year in the national championship against TCU. And now they broke their own record by 2 points, was a 60-point win over the Florida State Seminoles.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else we could say on this one, Jackson. Let's not even look at the statistics. I don't want to put Florida State fans through that. I already feel sad as it is for them. Let's talk about a better game, shall we? Let's talk about the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl with Ole Miss defeating 38-25. And Jackson, I got you again, good buddy. I got you again. You went with Penn State and you bet against Lane Kiffin, and what happened? He's like, I decided I'll win a big game now. Go ahead, though, Jackson.
It was like, oh, man. It was like, I don't even know what happened in that game. And, we don't know if this is going to be Lane Kiffin's last game as Ole Miss head coach, depending on whether he takes the Alabama job or not. Because, I mean, one thing we know about Lane Kiffin, he is an egomaniac, and he wants to be the guy that replaces the guy. But we don't know for sure. But to this point about the ball game, we look at the stats on this game. Jackson Dart had a great day. 25 of 40 completed passes, 379 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Caden Prescorn had 10 receptions, 136 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. And Mr. Trey Harris had 7 receptions, 134 receiving yards. Holy cow. I mean, that's amazing in and of itself. And unfortunately, Drew Allar, I'm going to be honest with you, he's the Kirk Cousins of college football when it comes to a big game.
Oh, Jackson. You didn't just say that, did you?
I just did. I mean, he is. I mean, until he proves me otherwise, he is the Kirk Cousins of college football. The next Kirk Cousins. And I don't mean that in a nice way.
Jackson, you not only just ticked off Viking Nation, but you just ticked off Penn State Nation as well.
Oh, I don't care. I mean, be as mad as you want to be with me. Be mad. Be mad. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And I will point it out.
But I will say though, Jackson, Quinshawn Junkins, what a great game he had for Ole Miss in his last game as a Apple before he becomes a Buckeye in 2024. Jackson Dart's coming back. And Jackson, kind of the same question with Missouri before we move on. Was this a Cinderella season for the Rebels, or do you think they could be legit going forward and do this every year?
That's a good question. Can they take that next step forward? We don't know, but we'll know a little more over the summer. But the path does get a little bit easier if Lane Kiffin doesn't leave for Alabama. If Lane Kiffin says, I want to stay in Mississippi, Oxford, Mississippi, then we're going to see an ugly battle in the SEC for sure. I mean, we're already going to see Georgia dominate it for right now. But Texas and Ole Miss will definitely have some say-so on it. I mean, I forget to count out LSU. I forgot LSU and Tennessee for a moment, but Tennessee has to win against Florida in Gainesville. Then we can talk.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
James Franklin lost another big game, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's another big mark. But congratulations to Ole Miss on the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl victory, and hopefully wish them nothing but success in the new Big Ten. Hopefully James Franklin can beat Ohio State or Michigan here very soon. But this next game here, oh, good crisis. The CW again. Jackson, they're the bane of our existence right now. As
Oh,
Wyoming defeats
shit.
Toledo 17-15 in the Arizona
Yeah.
Barstool Sports Bowl. Jackson, take it away, good buddy.
Well, on the bright side, in Craig Bowles' last game as head coach, he won it. I was so happy for him that they won it. It was a big victory right there. So it was a fantastic finish for the Wyoming Cowboys, man. That was a big win. I'm glad to see those guys get a great victory.
I am too as well. Congratulations to Wyoming. Great win for Craig Bowles. And, hopefully Wyoming can find a good replacement for him. But as you see, the two playoff games, we reviewed those, and you can go check those out in our archives. But and you could see Jackson's pure reaction to him. He took it like a champ, like I did, because I'm sure Michigan fans probably thought Jackson would have been a little more sadder, but he knew it was good for business. But Jackson, what was not good for business is Oregon just trouncing Liberty. You got any quick thoughts on this game?
Oh, Liberty looked pitiful. It was just pitiful. This game was violent. I mean, after Liberty scored the first 6 points of the game, Oregon scored 45 unanswered points on that one. And Bo Nix had a great day with 5 touchdowns. I mean, it was just good Lord Almighty. 363 passing yards, 28 of 35 completed passes on that day. Oh my God.
Yeah, congratulations, Oregon. Not much needs to be said with them, but oh boy, I've been excited for this all night. My my inner fandom is coming out because this man above me is probably going to have some epic clips coming up, especially Tennessee here in just a minute. But let's talk about LSU surviving Wisconsin 35-31 without Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors. But Jackson, the hype has already begun because I've seen on multiple sites, ESPN and even Paul Feinbaum said LSU should be the favorite out of the West this year, coming up in 2024. What do you
Yeah,
have to
but
say to that?
they can't win the big game in the postseason. That's the history of Brian Kelly. He can't get it done in the postseason. He never has and he never will. I mean,
But Jack,
I'm supposed to be impressed by the Relax West Bowl. I'm supposed to be impressed by the Citrus Bowl. No. Show me what you could do in the Orange Bowl or the Sugar Bowl or the Peach Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl. Then we'll talk.
but on LSU, real quick though, I mean Jackson. As soon as this game was over, all I saw was people saying LSU's back, baby. Look at Brian Kelly. You just wait, and you just wait. When we get a defense, Alabama and Georgia better look out. They're lucky we didn't have a defense. Bama got away this year. We're going to get them next year. It's like, okay, LSU, calm down. We understand. You have preseason hype. Calm down. And it's like, Jackson, I get why you get so frustrated because that's all they do during the offseason, especially to Bama. They're like, we're going to get you, Bama. Watch out. We're going to get you. And it's like, you didn't get us. Now go sit down.
Show me what you can do against USC next year. Then we'll talk. Not saying I'm going to be looking at you as that next team, but I'm saying we will talk. I promise you.
Yes. Talk. And Jackson, I will say this does Does this prove anything to you from Wisconsin's point of view? Or is it just more of Jaden Daniels didn't play, LSU didn't have really much of a defense, so not surprising? Did it prove anything for Wisconsin? Because we know LSU, they're just going to get hyped
I
regardless.
think this is going to prove that I think Wisconsin can be a great team in 2024, especially when Luke Fickell gets more of his guys in the lineup. And I mean, 2023 has just been kind of a rough year for Wisconsin, but it's the first year. It's going to be rough. But they look really good. And Luke Fickell seems to be, trouble for Brian Kelly. He proved that in the 2021 Cincinnati Notre Dame matchup. And he proved it in the 2024 ReliaQuest Bowl.
Yeah, he did, Jackson. This was another great, fantastic game. You can make an argument this was the best game next to Kentucky and Clemson. But, Jackson, this next game here, let's be honest, Jackson. I don't have any words for this. I mean, we should have known Iowa was going to be this bad.
That looks like vehicular manslaughter. That's what it looks like, vehicular manslaughter.
Like, Jackson, I picked Tennessee, but I didn't think they would beat them like this. Like, Jackson, you had faith in Iowa. You thought their defense could stop them. But it looked like Tennessee was like, okay, your offense stinks. Nico Collins.
They killed that Iowa offense. I mean, of course they were going to. I mean.
And Jackson, and you know the story now. You've seen it just as much as I do. People think this is such a great win. And it's like, no, you beat Iowa. You beat a team that has no offense, Tennessee. Talk to me when you hold Bama to 0 points. Heck, not even Bama. Talk to me when you hold Ole Miss to 0 points. Okay? Somebody competent. I was not competent. I'm sorry, Iowa fans, but you're not.
Shut out Florida. Shut out Florida, Tennessee. And we'll talk.
Like I'm not trying to offend no Iowa fans, but your offense is terrible, guys. Like, your defense is fantastic, but your offense is just terrible. We all know it. Like, just don't even hide it. Like, Jackson, I knew the second that Tennessee got that pick six, I'm like, this is over. And for more great content here at Sports Talk with Austin, please make sure you like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell so you never miss another video on anything college football, college basketball, and the NBA. Hey, here at Sports Talk with Austin, it's Cardinals for life, baby. I'm out. Stay in.